Oh, this is demonic. This is clearly demonic. People send it to me and I go, okay, because I'm, for the most part, off social media.
And if we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million.
Jeffrey Epstein was texting with congressional delegate Stacey Plaskett while she was sitting in a congressional hearing with President Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen in 2019.
Secretary and Labour MP leaks sensitive UK government tax plans to the convicted defender.
Epstein repeatedly sought a meeting or back-channel communications with President Vladimir Putin, at times suggesting he had advice or insight.
More than 300 names connected to Jeffrey Epstein were revealed in the latest batch of the Epstein files, and Joe Rogan revealed 10 names that had been previously redacted. In this video, we're going to look at details of what went on inside Jeffrey Epstein's island and his private plane, along with his connection to foreign governments, and how he made all his money is now being exposed.
What is going on here? New documents show Justice Department documents mention Russia thousands of times, Vladimir Putin over 1,000 times, reflecting extensive Russia-related communications and contacts in Epstein's network. Emails, travel records indicate, so there's real something to it. Epstein made multiple trips to Russia, obtained business visas, had scouts there recruiting young Russian women for him, of course, similar to his operations elsewhere. The files describe Epstein cultivating ties with Russian political and business elites, acting as a facilitator in deals and introductions, not just sexual encounters. Epstein repeatedly sought a meeting or back-channel communications with President Vladimir Putin, at times suggesting he had advice or insight to offer about dealing with Donald Trump. He had documented ties to at least one former Russian official with a background in the FSB, whom he used to gather information on a woman he claimed was trying to extort his business partner.
Y'all, the moment the Department of Justice dumped more than 3 million pages, nearly 2,000 tapes, and over 180,000 images tied to the Epstein investigations, people expected answers. Instead, they got walls of black ink. Whole paragraphs erased. Entire truths suffocated under redaction bars. Officials insisted it was all to shield victims, but if that's the case, why were the alleged partners in crime buried in blackout too? Why silence the powerful? Within hours, digital sleuths tore into the files, peeling back the ink line by line, and what surfaced wasn't just a list of names. Hidden footage, buried photos, secrets the system tried to smother suddenly staring back at the world.
I just don't think we really knew until we saw those files come out. Yeah. And then you go, oh, well, there's no denying it now. My position on it is completely shifted. I thought there's probably some really sick people that have an appetite for that, but I hadn't seen any real evidence for it until these files. And now they're like, oh, this is demonic. This is clearly demonic. People send it to me and I go, okay, because I'm, for the most part, off social media. But every now and then someone will send me something that I have to look at. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. And these are emails back and forth. There's one of them where Epstein says, I enjoyed the video. There's these references to pizza, a lot of references to pizza that are 100% some kind of a code. Yeah. And then it brings you back to Pizzagate.
Joe drew attention to a chilling email buried deep in the files, someone openly thanking Jeffrey Epstein for sending them an illegal video, as if it were an ordinary favor. The sender's name had been swallowed by thick black redaction lines, hidden behind silence. But that silence cracked. The identity finally surfaced. Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the 70-year-old chief of the global logistics powerhouse Dubai Ports World. And in that instant, the story stopped feeling like rumors and shadows. It became a real name, a real face, and a question echoing louder than ever.
Talk about Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, okay? Resigned as CEO of DP World. This is Dubai's largest port operator. Doesn't help when you have this email, June 2013, from Epstein to bin Sulayem. All I know for sure is that you're one of my most trusted friends in every sense of the word. You have never let me down, not once, not half of once, and I greatly appreciate the time we spend together. This was the response. Thank you, my friend. I am off the sample, a fresh 100% female Russian at my yacht. Epstein responds, 100% Russian or 100% female? Question, if it were once a man and now has, and describes women's private parts, what percentage is it? And bin Sulayem responds, 100% female. Yeah, the messages between the two discuss women, girls, explicit content, business dealings for sure, meetings with world leaders, yeah. And then the video. Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the video. Epstein apparently sent that message in April 2009 to a redacted name, but then you had Representative Thomas Massie, who's been all over this, revealed that this was sent to a
Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem was forced to step away from both the chairman's seat and the CEO role after his name echoed thousands of times across the mountain of records tied to Jeffrey Epstein. In one disturbing reference, Epstein allegedly described him as one of his most trusted friends. Emails cited in the release claim Epstein connected Sulayem to high-profile figures in global politics and business, and that Sulayem once hosted the Prince of Wales for a tour of DP World's London Gateway Port in 2016. And this wasn't the first shadow cast over his name. Just days earlier, two U.S. lawmakers, Rogan and Thomas Massie, publicly accused him of being among 6 influential men they said had links to the disgraced financier. Whether proven or denied, the whispers were suddenly everywhere, and the silence around them only made the questions louder.
She and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massie and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake. And now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful men. These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikaladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator by the FBI. Now, my question is, why did it take Thomas Massie and me going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public? And if we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those.
Epstein's shadow didn't stop at private jets or island parties. It stretched deep into the corridors of American power. Records show a trail of contact with prominent politicians, appearances at galas, names logged on flights, quiet encounters inside elite social circles. And most chilling of all, much of it happened after his 2009 conviction. It forces an unsettling question into the spotlight. How did a man already branded for crimes against minors keep walking so easily among lawmakers, billionaires, and global power brokers? Court filings and sworn depositions paint a picture of careful, calculated networking. Epstein poured money into political campaigns, staged invitation-only dinners, and sold himself as a financier whose connections could rescue or ruin ambitions overnight. Joe Rogan even pointed to one name that raised eyebrows across the internet, Stacey Plaskett. And suddenly, people weren't just asking who Epstein knew, they were asking how far his influence really reached, and who, if anyone, could ever expose the truth hiding behind those polished doors.
Right, because I would imagine you would want them too. There's plenty of women politicians you'd want to compromise. I mean, they did get Stacey Plaskett. She was cooperating with Epstein, going back and forth during Trump's administration. So if people wind up going to trial over this, and people wind up getting indicted over this, that could get more interesting, because then you remove it from Minnesota and then it becomes this federal court thing. And so then it becomes mainstream public news if they do this correctly. But if there is something there.
Jeffrey Epstein was texting with congressional delegate Stacey Plaskett while she was sitting in a congressional hearing with President Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen in 2019.
Did they reach out to you to talk with you about these payments?
No, ma'am.
And documents recently released by the House Oversight Committee now show that Plaskett, a delegate of the Virgin Islands, and Epstein, a resident of the Virgin Islands, were coordinating in real time Plaskett's questioning of Trump's former fixer during the hearing. At 2:24 p.m., Epstein texts, Cohen brought up Rona, keeper of the secrets. Plaskett responds, Rona? Quick, I'm up next. Is that an acronym? Epstein replies, that's his assistant. About 7 minutes later, Plaskett asked Cohen about Trump's assistant.
As Miss Rona, what is Miss Rona's position?
Rona Graff is Mr. Trump's executive assistant.
And would she be able to corroborate many of the statements that you've made here?
Yes, her office is directly next to his, and she's involved in a lot that went on.
Though her name was redacted in the document, the Washington Post first reported that the timestamps line up with Plaskett's questioning in the hearing. Plaskett, who was a non-voting delegate, faced a vote to censure her after the text came to light, but it ultimately failed. Plaskett has defended her text with Epstein, saying that she took texts and calls from many of her constituents.
I've been a prosecutor for many years. I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth. Having a friendship with him is not something that I would deem to have.
And the web didn't stop with Washington or Middle Eastern palaces. According to emails cited in the files, figures linked to the British royal circle and senior UK officials had contact with Epstein too, sometimes in ways that reportedly crossed into sensitive territory. Flight records place Prince Andrew on Epstein's island more than once, and correspondence allegedly included an invitation for Epstein to dine at Buckingham Palace. One message even claimed Epstein offered to introduce a Mountbatten Windsor to a 16-year-old Russian girl, while photos surfaced that investigators said appeared to show a Mountbatten Windsor kneeling beside an unidentified woman on the floor. Then came testimony from Virginia Giuffre, a British-born accuser, who said she had been trapped by Epstein and Maxwell and forced into sexual encounters with Andrew when she was still a teenager. And the storm didn't spare politicians either. Documents also mentioned Peter Mandelson, the former EU Trade Commissioner, whose name was pulled into the controversy. Allegations, denials, unanswered questions, all colliding into a scandal that kept widening, swallowing reputations, and leaving the world wondering how deep the connections really went.
Release of Epstein files uncovered photos of Mr. Mandelson with no trousers on with an anonymous woman, and also revealed the then Business Secretary and Labour MP leaked sensitive UK government tax plans to the convicted defender and advised him to mildly threaten the Treasury over a proposed banker's bonus tax, as well as telling the disgraced financier that he was trying hard to change the policy from within at Epstein's request. The documents also show multiple payments of thousands of pounds from Epstein to the former Labour spin doctor or his husband, one of which was after Epstein's 2008 conviction for soliciting as young as 14 for In a statement last night, Peter Mandelson said he felt regretful and sorry about the new links to Epstein, adding, "Allegations which I believe to be false that he made financial payments to me 20 years ago and of which I have no record or recollection need investigating by me. While doing this, I do not wish to cause further embarrassment to the Labour Party and I am therefore stepping down from membership of the party." He also repeated a previous apology to the women and girls impacted by Epstein's crimes.
The UK, the US, the Saudis, three pillars of global power, kept appearing in the same orbit around one man, and the sheer access he seemed to have still feels unreal. How does a single financier move so easily through rooms guarded by protocol, secrecy, and decades of tradition? Some commentators online argue that Epstein's reach looked less like luck and more like protection, even suggesting he might have been tied to intelligence circles. Joe Rogan has echoed that theory in his own way, asking the same uneasy question many people have whispered for years. Royal families and top officials don't usually welcome unknown businessmen into their inner world without someone powerful vouching for them. And that thought alone turns the mystery into something far darker, because if doors kept opening for him, who was holding the key?
Just get real and say,
if I gun to your head, what do you think your best assessment of what Epstein, who was Epstein, who was he working for?
Well, I don't know. Right, so I'm just guessing. Everybody wants to say he was working for the Mossad. He very well could have been. He could have been working for the CIA. He could have been a guy who was on his own, but also working with them, right? Like a guy that they used, but they never fully endorsed.
Like an asset?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a guy who could move money around.
Right.
He definitely...
Good at laundering money.
The moving money around stuff was very weird because he had money through no way that anybody could ever explain. Yeah. He had an enormous amount of money through no way that nobody could ever explain. Which, you know, if you're state-funded... You're funded by Israel, and Israel's funded by America, and, you know, there's also NGOs and nonprofits, and there's ways to move money around where you can give this guy money.
Yeah.
So he was like Weinstein, who is an economist, right? Weinstein's a legitimate mathematician.
Eric?
Yeah. So when Eric met him, his first inclination was he was a fraud.
He's a construct.
Yeah, a construct. And did he tell you the whole story about the girl sitting on his lap?
Yep.
So Epstein, while he's meeting with Eric Weinstein for the first time, has a beautiful girl sitting on his lap, and a woman. I shouldn't say girl. He said she was like in her 20s, and she's sitting on his lap, and he's bouncing around, so they're juggling around. While
he's asking math questions.
Yeah, talking serious. So he was obviously nerd fishing. He was fishing for nerds, and I think he caught a lot of nerds in that net. There's a lot of those 100%. Guys that wound up going to that island. They probably thought, this is great. We get to...
Another name pulled into the storm was Bill Gates. In one email cited in reports, Epstein claimed he had helped Gates obtain drugs to deal with fallout from encounters with Russian women, and that he had arranged meetings with married partners. In a separate message, Epstein lashed out, accusing Gates of throwing away a 6-year friendship to protect his public image. The claims, whether proven, disputed, or denied, ignited outrage the moment they surfaced, because suddenly the scandal wasn't just about shadowy figures on the fringe. It was brushing up against one of the most recognizable names in tech and philanthropy, raising new questions about who Epstein tried to attach himself to, what really happened behind closed doors, and how many secrets were still buried in those endless pages of records.
The crazy thing about the Epstein leaks today, the one email
and we're here
that said that Bill Gates wanted to get from him antibiotics to give to Melinda because he got syphilis or he got something.
Damn.
The clap, chlamydia, whatever he got. He got some sort of an STD from a prostitute.
Do you think if she could have the choice between getting what did she get, $50 billion, or not getting the syphilis, which would she
whatever
take?
she got, I bet it wasn't syphilis. It was probably the clap. It was probably chlamydia or something like that.
That's no big deal.
But if who knows if that's true, though? Here's the thing. Like, Epstein clearly was some sort of a blackmailer. And this is an email that Epstein wrote. So it could be complete fiction. Epstein could have wrote that just to put pressure on Bill Gates for some business deal. Like, who knows? He could have spread rumors and then said that he'll squash those rumors. But these guys are dealing in deception and blackmail. And so you can't, assume that it's true.
A spokesperson for Gates fired back immediately, calling the accusations absurd and completely false, dismissing them as the desperate fabrications of a man known for twisting truth to serve his own agenda. They argued the emails didn't reveal secret deals or hidden favors at all, only Epstein's anger after being cut off, and the lengths he was willing to go to smear someone who refused to stay in his orbit. But even with the denial, the tension lingered. Because in scandals this tangled, every claim, every rebuttal, every missing detail feels like another locked door, and the world keeps wondering what's behind the ones that still haven't been opened.
So met Jeffrey Epstein exactly one time.
Did you?
Yes, because I wanted to see who this man was. And I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards. So, my heart breaks for these young women because that's how I felt. And here I'm an older woman. My God, I feel terrible for those young women. It's awful.
She's happy she's no longer married to Bill Gates. She's happy to be away from the muck, as she put it. And we've just seen this interview with Bill Gates on Channel 9.
It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
There we go. I never met any women. Wow, this is getting curiouser and curiouser, Esther.
Yes, it is. And unfortunately for Bill Gates, now he has to probably deal with the insinuation, at least for many people, that Melinda chose to divorce him and get herself out of that world. Also because of his association or his tenuous links, which he denies, with Jeffrey Epstein. The allegation that he presumably got an STD from a Russian prostitute that was associated with Jeffrey Epstein was actually written in a note by Jeffrey Epstein.
British and U.S. government officials were providing financial support to Epstein, and public records show that Epstein managed money for wealthy clients and cultivated relationships with high-profile individuals across the U.S. and UK. One of these wealthy elites was Lex Wexner.
Wexner, one of the closest known benefactors of Jeffrey Epstein, says he was, quote, naive, foolish, and gullible for trusting the late convicted offender. The 88-year-old testified before members of the House Oversight Committee in a closed-door deposition yesterday. He previously led the former parent company of Victoria's Secret and hired Epstein to manage his money in the mid-1980s. In his prepared opening statement, Wexner said he cut ties with Epstein shortly after his arrest in late 2006, but the latest release of Epstein files show the two stayed in touch past then. In her book, Selling Sexy, Victoria's Secret and the Unraveling of an American Icon, CBS News contributor and Puck fashion correspondent Lauren Sherman discusses Wexner's years-long relationship with Epstein, and Lauren joins us now. So tell us more about their relationship.
So Epstein was advising Wexner since the early 80s. He was introduced to him by the guys at Bear Stearns. He was vetted by him. He was a casual advisor. And then by the early 1990s, Wexner actually granted him power of attorney, which we all know is a very rare thing to do with a financial advisor. And he had that until 2007 when all these accusations and Epstein started to get into really big trouble. Wexner has tried to remove himself from the Epstein narrative, but the reality is he made Epstein very rich. And so the two men have been intertwined and have affected Wexner's legacy as an entrepreneur and a person who really built a lot of Ohio over the last year.
As more layers of the mystery were stripped away, it began to look like threads were weaving through places no one expected, even into the world of big banks. Headlines erupted when Goldman Sachs top lawyer, Catherine Ruemmler, announced she would step down after leaked emails highlighted past contact with Jeffrey Epstein. The messages reportedly showed she had received gifts from him, offered advice on how he might handle public scrutiny, and once described him in unusually personal terms. Whether coincidence, poor judgment, or something deeper, the pattern kept repeating. Epstein's name kept surfacing beside governments, financiers, billionaires, like a ghost in the margins of every powerful circle. And with each new connection, the same chilling thought returned. How did one man build a web so vast that it seemed to touch everything? And who else was still hiding in the dark corners of it?
I mentioned Catherine Ruemmler, okay? Chief Legal Officer and General Counsel at Goldman Sachs. Guess what? She resigned. Yeah, these two are apparently close. According to the Wall Street Journal, Epstein called her when he was arrested in 2019. She once thanked Epstein after receiving luxury gifts from him, calling him Uncle Jeffrey. See, the issue there is she seemed to indicate that her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was strictly professional. Let's see what the files seem to show. I'm totally tricked out by Uncle Jeffrey today. Jeffrey boots, handbag, and watch. February 2016, Epstein to Ruemmler. We all set for a day of joy. Ruemmler to Epstein. Best massage ever, but not your kind of massage. Epstein writes back. Shame. May 2015. Epstein writes, if Redacted continues to claim that she had sex with people for money, why is that not in what I pled guilty to? Every massage person got paid money. No girl came to the house to learn math. Did sex for money change the equation? There was a massage person per day. Some turned out to be younger than others, some as old as 60. I'll explain when I see you. Ruemmler seems to respond, I think the point is that if she was underage, she cannot legally consent to engaging in prostitution. They would also discuss politics and Donald Trump, or even calling Trump at one point truly stupid. There's this interesting email in 2016 regarding Bill Clinton, where Epstein writes, my memory is a friend. I stopped talking to Clinton when he swore with wholehearted conviction to me that he had done something. He had forgotten that he also swore the exact opposite to me only weeks before. Speaking of Clinton, by the way, there's this one where Epstein writes, do you think Bill Clinton would like to join you, me, Ehud, and Steve? Could be very funny, all off the record.
Epstein wasn't satisfied with the circles he already moved in. He kept hunting for new doors to open, new voices to pull into his orbit. At one point, that reach even brushed up against Joe Rogan. On a recent episode of his show, Rogan said that back in 2017, theoretical physicist Lawrence Krauss had tried to set up a meeting between him and Jeffrey Epstein. Emails about the exchange later spread online, showing Epstein pushing for an introduction, joking that he thought Rogan was funny and asking Krauss to connect them. Krauss did reach out, but Rogan declined. Epstein tried again, suggesting Rogan could join a dinner with Woody Allen if he changed his mind. Krauss later replied in frustration, apologizing for the lack of progress and remarking that Rogan seemed more hesitant than expected. And just like that, another strange thread appeared in the web, one more reminder of how far Epstein was willing to stretch, chasing influence wherever he thought a new ally might be waiting.
I'm in the files for not going.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm in the files for not going because Jeffrey Epstein was trying to meet with me.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad?
Yeah, but I would have never went anyway. It's like, it's not even a possibility that I would have went.
But
especially after I Googled him. I was like, what the are you talking about? This was like 2017. One of my guests was trying to get me to meet him. I was like, you high? Like, what the are you talking about?
For what reason would you? What would be...
If I was a guy who is like sucking up to the rich and powerful, if I was really interested in hanging out with rich and powerful people.
You know, it's crazy. That's so crazy. But yeah, some people
get intoxicated by being in a circle of rich and powerful people, even if they're not, like, they don't even have any ambitions of being one of those people. They just want to be around them. They want to be around Nobel Prize winners. And because this guy what he was doing was very clever in that he was getting all of these very powerful and very respected people together.
Yeah.
And you would figure like, oh, if
that guy's there, if that lady's
Clinton's
there.
here. This is fine.
Right.
Clinton's here. How could this be bad?
Yeah.
Look, it's Steven Pinker. How could this be bad?
Yeah.
You know, he's a genius. Like, and so you would go, I would imagine, you would go to these, because there's people that went to these, like, he had parties in New York, like, he brought in celebrities and comedians. Didn't Louis Black get invited to one of those? I think he's talked about it. I know Chelsea Handler went to one of them. It's like he would bring all these people in, and he'd like to be around famous people and entertainers and a lot of intellectuals and professors. And Noam Chomsky was famously deeply involved.
The only reason Joe said no to Epstein was because Alex Jones had warned him years ago. Somehow Alex Jones knew what was happening on Epstein's island and his private plane decades before his conviction and before any of the files were released.
About Epstein's island more than a decade ago, and I thought it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, what are you saying? There's an island, like, it sounds like a plot in a movie. There's an island where they fly famous rich scientists and politicians, and they compromise them with underage girls and get it on film so they could use it against them. I'm like, what? That sounds like lizard people. It sounds like, 5G creates COVID. Same thing. Yeah. But turns out it was true. And it's one of many things. He was the first one to warn me about a social credit score system. He's like, they're going to try to implement a social credit score system, and your money is going to be tied. They'll have centralized digital currency, and your money will be tied to your social credit score system, and you step out of line, you won't be able to buy things. You won't be able to travel. You won't be able to do anything. They're going to try to keep you within a 15-minute radius of your home, and they're starting to do that.
At this point, it's hard to separate the truth from the rumors. Everything people thought was impossible a few years ago is now being proven true. All of the elites are working together in a ring. Jeffrey Epstein ran a criminal operation and maintained relationships with powerful individuals across politics, business, and academia. Court documents and investigations have confirmed his crimes, but so far no action has been taken. Joe Rogan predicted that in the coming days, we'll see even more conspiracy theories being proven true.
It's so tangled. The whole thing is just, I think everybody who looks at it realizes this is a rabbit hole that just goes to the center of the earth. And there's so many people involved in that. Here's the big question that people ask. If there was a Jeffrey Epstein, and it seems like all these things he is involved in, is there a Jeffrey Epstein right now that we don't know about?
There's a million of them.
A million of them.
I mean, this is why I find this. This is not the core of what I focus on, but I find it a really interesting field of study because it helps understand so many other U.S. government institutions and the relationship between government and private business. Jeffrey Epstein is part of a class of what are effectively professional fixers, and This is a kind of class of professional who sits not really within a particular government or private sector institution, but in the kind of sticky layer between them that connects them.
Jeffrey Epstein is gone, but the storm he left behind is still raging, and the truth is still buried somewhere under sealed files, silent witnesses, and unanswered questions. This isn't about gossip anymore. It's about accountability. It's about knowing how one man built a network that touched the highest levels of power and why so many doors stayed closed for so long. People everywhere aren't asking for rumors. They're demanding transparency, real answers, and justice that doesn't stop halfway. If you believe the truth deserves daylight, stand with this story. Hit like so this video reaches people who still don't know what's hiding in those records. Subscribe so you don't miss the next revelation when the next layer gets pulled back. Share this with someone who thinks the story is over, because it isn't. And drop your thoughts below, because your voice is part of this conversation, too. The louder we are together, the harder it becomes for the truth to stay buried. Stay with us, because what comes next might change everything.